Identical twins. Have you ever gone into work, school, or some other occasion to cover your twin? How did it work out? My dad is an identical twin. He has some stories. He did tell me of a time when he was in college that he asked his brother to cover for him in a Friday afternoon class so my dad could leave town early to get back to his girlfriend. My dad and my uncle were majoring in the same subject so that helped, but they had different electives. I did help that most of the students in the class knew both my uncle and my dad, so they helped my uncle out when he got cornered by a question every once in a while. The prof never caught on. How do you know he is your dad? Genetically speaking, they both are. My cousins and I sometimes joke that we are actually half brothers. Actually, my dad and uncle lived halfway across the country from one another since they got out of college. You actually are half brothers. Maybe that's just what they want you to think. I was working in a department store and my twin came in to grab something. As he was walking through the store, my manager mistook him for me and proceeded to chew him out for being out of uniform and leaving the electric section empty. He let her yell for a bit and then told her he was my twin. Now I don't tell people that I am a twin. Too many stupid questions. So even when he told her, she didn't believe him. I happened to be walking nearby when I heard the interaction and finally put it to rest. Edit. I wanted to add the stupidest question I've ever gotten. When you look in a mirror, how do you know it's really you and not your twin? My grandmother. So you did leave your section. I never said I was a good employee. Well, I guess it's a good thing he yelled at your twin so they wouldn't turn out like you. Well, I bet she was shocked when you brought that to light. Am I doing this pun thing right? Medal for effort. Dated a twin and they shared an insurance policy in college. You sure that's all they shared? Of the 4 sets of identical twins I've gone to school with, 2 of the pairs had sex with the same person. One time one of them was dating a girl, we'll call him Twinner. They got in a huge fight and broke up. She walked into the twin B's room and had sex with him to try and piss Twinner off. Twinner was like, I really don't care. She continued sleeping with twin B for a couple weeks until they kicked her out because she was actually batshit crazy. Really? I didn't see any red flags in that story. My dad is an identical twin. Legend has it that on their 16th birthday my dad's twin was sick. My father went and passed his own driver's test, went home to change clothes, and then went back and passed his brother's test for him. That's what brothers are for. My aunts are identical twins. They used to swap places on test days in school. One would take a math test twice, the other would take an English test twice. Since they often dressed the same anyway, it wasn't obvious. Yes, they were successful. Identical mirror twin here. It never worked out well for us. We look similar, but personality wise we are pretty easy to tell apart. The face would get you in the door, but 5 minutes later it's straight to the principal's office. My sister and I are identical mirror twins too. Her personality is much more sassy than mine. Wow, okay. Edit. I'm her sister. You know this is the truth. I can see that. It is very clear who the sassy one is. The top comments will deal with identical twins as students. I'm a teacher, and at one of the schools I teach, there are professors who are identical twins. For the entire first semester I taught there, I did not know they were 2 people. The way I found out was that one of them used my classroom immediately after my class one day, and she came in and was talking to me and getting her stuff all ready for her class. I packed up and left the room and went directly down the hall to the faculty lounge. I opened the door and there she was, sitting at a table inside. For the first time in my life I had a genuine glitch in the Matrix moment. It took me about 5 seconds to understand that I was dealing with identical twins and not a single person who could teleport. I know they sub for each other, but I don't know if they do it without telling their classes. I had 2 colleagues that I thought were the same person. Don't interact very much with them. Had a similar situation where I left one and went to the next room and there he was again. And this was after working there 6 or so months. Duck me. I didn't realize you were twins. Then an awkward silence. What are you talking about? Turns out they're not twins, not even related, and don't even look that alike. I'm so face blind. That was a roller coaster. I did in 11th grade, went into my sister's French class. The teacher was an idiot and didn't notice. I don't even speak French and have only ever taken Spanish. Some other kids told him and I got kicked out. Really? Someone ratted you out in 11th grade? That is ridiculous. Hope the rat got some comeuppance cause that's just pitiful for a 16 to 17 year old. Whoa, my sister and I also went to each other's French and Spanish classes. The French teacher noticed right away, but the Spanish teacher had no idea. Once started a conversation with my sister's maths teacher who didn't know I wasn't my sister or that she had a twin at all. It got too far down the conversation for me to correct her because I didn't want to make her feel embarrassed. She kept asking me more and more questions about the exam that my sister had just done which I had no clue about, and I kept trying to bluff my answers, but I got more and more stressed that eventually I snapped and said, "Miss, I'm really sorry. I have no clue what you're talking about. I'm not sister. I'm her sister. Me. I didn't take the exam." The worst thing is we have rhyming names, so when I told her I could just see her thinking this girl is actually trying to give me this half-assed lie. She thinks I'm dumb. Like those teenage TV shows where the character sees someone they want to avoid, and they're like, haha, I'm not Rob. I'm his brother Bob. Cue sitcom laughter soundtrack. No, but there were a few times where she's gone into my work when I wasn't there and people mistook her for me. I suppose she's lucky they didn't try to get her to cover for me. Haha. My twin and I work at the same place, but different departments and different uniforms, and still many of our coworkers get us mixed up. At some point it is just easier to not correct them, unless as you said they try saying something about shifts or anything else of importance. Haha. Back in the day, my sister and I worked at the same store. The managers would put her at the front register and me at the back register. It was always amusing to get those WTF looks by people going from the front to the back. Oh my god, that happens all the time to me and my sister. She used to work at them also. Whenever I go there, all her friends that work there think I'm her, and they wave at me, or just stare, because they aren't sure if I'm her or not. One day I was sick in high school, but my mom made me still go to school. I had an in-class essay that was 25% of my grade that day, and since my sister had that class earlier in the day and got to see the prompt, I convinced her to do it for me. We have different clothing styles, so we switched clothes and she wrote my essay, which I got a B+ on. I was happy with that considering I was pretty sick and couldn't have done that. We decided to just go the whole day like that, and no teachers caught on. Another time that kinda sucked though was also in high school when my twin fell in front of everyone at lunch. It got around that I was the one who fell. My boyfriend even came to me making sure I was okay. I was so embarrassed because literally the whole school was laughing about it. Obviously my sister didn't do much to make it clear it wasn't me, lol. There were times when I have also done embarrassing things and said it was my twin. Comes in handy. Now I have bleach blonde hair and people can easily tell who is who. But we live in different cities, so we can't switch much anyways. Identical twin. The issue that a lot of people overlook about this whole swap is that even though you might look like someone, your behavior is different, and there's a ton of detailed information you would need to know to pull it off. When my brother and I did it in 3rd grade, I didn't even bother to ask him what their squiz is. My school separated the twins, so we had this set in my level in grade 5. Let's call them David and Chris. We had Chris in our class that year. Lovely kid, kept his hair at a shaggy length. David was in another class. He had a very short haircut. So one day David walks into our class and tries the "oh I got my haircut" line, to which we all call bullshit. Eventually our teacher shows up and she spots it right away and tells him to go back to his class. Meanwhile in David's class, all the kids are giggling at Chris sitting casually at the front, while the teacher is completely oblivious. She didn't notice until David walked in and told Chris that he got busted. My kids aren't identical, but there's a lot of them at our twin playgroup. One set is always color coded. Ben wears blue, Glenn wears green kinda deal. Anyway, one day Ben's getting up to mischief, and when he was called out on it, he said "no, I'm Glenn," thinking that switching names would get him out of trouble. Me and my twin have a thing where when we are not together and someone mistakes us for the other, we just pretend to be the other. I've actually had lunches with people I don't know because at that point I'm in too deep and it's scary. What's also weird is when the person/people recognizes us, so we play along. But then it ends up that neither of us even knew them. I'd love to know more. My brother switched places a couple times. They kept doing it and eventually lost track. They still don't know who they are. I'm not sure why, but this gave me a great deal of anxiety. Existential crisis imminent. On Christmas we just label their presents to whom it may concern. It concerns me. May I have their presents, please? My sister is way better at taking selfies than me, so I use them sometimes. I do video editing work, and it has definitely helped sales a bit. I figured since we look the same it's not really wrong. Same man. Same. My C's and I are identical. We switched a bunch in high school, and we were forced to wear name tags in grade school, so our teachers would stop confusing us. I went on to get a nursing degree and my C's got a biology degree, and we're in completely different jobs. Sometimes we switch with our mom just for kicks, but she's getting wise to it. I was a shit in college and pretended I was her with her boyfriends once in a while, mostly because she had terrible taste in men and I wanted a free dinner. Talks a whole night and acts like his girlfriend. OBTWIM her sister. I was hungry THX. My twin and I switched places in 2nd grade to full art teacher. We would have succeeded too if it weren't for those meddling kids. When we were very young, probably in 3rd grade, my sister and I swapped classes to take a test for each other. This way, we would pick the subject we preferred and take a repeat of the same test for the other. Everything was planned out. What time we'd meet at outside the bathrooms connecting our classes, where our seats were, and how to get back to our proper classrooms afterwards. Everything went pretty smoothly, but we forgot one key element. Being identical twins didn't mean that our handwriting would be the same, and both teachers immediately noticed the change. Never went to actually cover anything for him. But one day, I was going to an event that my twin was already in, and used the excuse of I forgot to get a pass to get back in. They recognized me from already being in there, and let me through. Hate to be that not be but a friend guy, but I digress. Had a buddy from college who had an identical twin. His brother came to visit one weekend and debauchery ensued. We lost track of him at some point at a bar, but when texted he said all was well. He had just left with a lady. Fast forward a few weeks and my friend gets slapped in the middle of campus by the same girl. Apparently after he gave her his number his brother never texted her back. Needless to say she didn't buy the identical twin thing at first. Never, but I had people call me by my twin's name while walking about, in my early 20s. Of course I don't notice, and they end up thinking my twin snubbed them. Also people I never met end up randomly recognizing me as my twin's twin, and chat with me. I never even shared homework assignments with my twin. If my twin had a test before I did, we would not discuss it. I get asked questions like this one on occasion, but we never really considered using our twin status to hoodwink people or gain an advantage. We were so identical, I cannot tell us apart in old photographs sometimes. I once ran into someone's twin and called out to them thinking it was his brother walking by me. I ran up to him cause I was annoyed he didn't acknowledge me, and at that point, learned it was identical twin. I felt stupid and wasn't positive I wasn't being tricked because we were in high school and the twin I knew had never even mentioned he had a sibling, let alone an identical twin. We went to a charter high school for the arts and his brother just went to the regular city high school. I did confirm it was really years later when my friend started dating city high school twin. Such a cringe moment to think back on. I've covered my twin for work, math class and sporting events. I got him first place in a lot of the athletics competitions for high school expect. When I got him to state level he failed pretty bad. I sat his math classes and he sat my sewing classes in school. I've also covered for him for part-time work and he covers my shifts when I can't make it. It's a win-win. Or should I say it's a twin-twin. Side note, no one found out so I wonder if this thread hasn't blown up due to a lack of identical twins. And all the identical triplets are lurking and thinking why do they never ask us? Yo dude I got you on that triplet shit. I have an identical twin sister and a fraternal twin brother. I don't have an identical twin, but my cousins are sometimes they would pretend to go to the bathroom together during their soccer games so that they could switch if one needed a break. I'm an identical twin. More than once people in public think I'm my brother or vice versa. I've covered for my brother a few times in classes through all of school up to university, though all were non-mandatory so there was no academic dishonesty or anything. Worked out fine though most of the class knew what was up. I've also done some swapping for sports and the like, and when you're in uniform people can't usually tell. Help that we played the same sport and all that. Identical twin here. No, we never switched places. Those who knew us well could tell us apart by our personalities, and we were in many of the same classes through high school. We also fought a lot growing up, so we weren't often trying to do each other favors. We are much closer now that we are all grown up. Having a twin is not as practical as you might think, but it is fun. My mom used to tell me a story all the time to the point where it was traumatizing. I had an identical twin brother who literally died for me during birth. They tried taking him out first, but his cord was stuck around my neck or something. They ended up trying to get me out of her stomach with him barely out of her womanhood. The doctors said that he wasn't going to make it off. They did a C-section, and that both of us would be strangled if they did it naturally. So my brother got sacrificed for me to be brought through a C-section. My cousins are twins, and one of them went to a big interview for the other one. She got the job for her. They had to be separated in elementary school after trying to switch places in class. Have you ever covered your twin for work, school or something? If yes, comment below.